In London, a play's open called John, Paul, George, Ringo and Bert, and it's dedicated really to Beatle nostalgia. Do you ever feel nostalgic about those days and discuss the Beatles?
Yeah, I can look back and enjoy. I remember the good times more than the bad now, which is good. If the last time I saw Paul in New York, which was about a month ago, we talked about very early days a lot, and we had a good couple of nights reminiscing about Hamburg and Liverpool. And now it's so far away that we really do like it. I even collected Beatle memorabilia from the Beatle Fest held in New York. Rally with 5,000 or 10,000 people, in fact. It was very good. I got old Beatle posters and badges and all the jazz and Beatle bootlegs, so I'm a Beatle fan.
And you say you're a Beatle fan then. I've always wondered, do you ever go home and play old Beatle tracks from albums?
I hardly listen to albums, only if it's on the radio I listen to stuff, and they're always still playing Beatles stuff. And whenever it's on, if I've got the radio on, I listen, and when they put the repackage out, of course, I listen to that. And I have favourites, but there's too many to ever pick favourites.
Still on the subject of nostalgia, really, what happened to that album of oldies you were going to make with Phil Spector?
Well, Phil had a car accident in the middle of it and was out of it for half a year or more. And I didn't want to start a new album, so I was just waiting and waiting to get hold of the tapes. And finally I got hold of the tapes 3 days before I went in to start the new album. So I have the tapes in New York, and I'm going back to take a look, listen to them, and see if there's an album there. We only did 9 in the end, so I'll have to have a look at them and see if it's worth putting out. That's what happened to those.
Enough of the past. Do you see music today taking any particular direction?
People always ask the question, what direction is music going, or is rock and roll dead, or where's your music going? I think it wouldn't be much fun if you could see where music was going. I think it's best to just go along with it. It always finds its level. I think today's music is just as good and as bad as music's ever been, probably. And I think each generation sort of thinks its own music is a bit more important. I tend to think the 50s rock and roll was more important than what was happening now, which is probably not true at all. It's just all to do with emotions and who you were kissing in the back of the cinema at 16. And I think music is music, and, it's always good and bad.
Well, first Paul got back on the road with Wings, and now George has just announced in London that he's going back on the road. I wonder if there's any chance of you joining them. Well, not exactly joining them, but you yourself getting a band together.
The touring, it doesn't thrill me too much, because it's a lot of work, and as the question says, I have to pull a band together. It's always a possibility, but I prefer the studio. If I was talking to it, I'd probably do it, but I'm not too thrilled about the idea at the moment, but one never knows.
You say you prefer the studio there, but musicians I've talked to, they still like the live performance. I mean, do you really miss performing?
I'm always performing, my dear. Sometimes I miss it, but, I don't miss it enough to pull together a 40-city tour of America or a 30-city tour of Britain at the moment. I think I'm more interested in TV, but that's still a bit primitive about the sound on TV.